Mighty Sports Talk coming to you on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for stopping by. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzynski, Dan Lucero with you. We got plenty to discuss today. We're even going to talk a little bit of Royals. The winter meeting's going on. I know you don't care about the Royals, and you probably shouldn't.
The stove is so hot.
It is not. It is not even on.
It is the hottest stove.
It is the coldest stove. You can sit on it. It's not even plugged in. It's not even plugged in if you are the Royals. And I'm going to explain why coming up here in just a little bit.
Dog, it's not plugged in for anyone. I've got a bunch of my friends on Twitter all day today like, oh, well, what? If we don't sign Ohtani, what's our offseason going to look like? And it's like, nothing has happened. How are any of you getting worked up about this at all? We have not gotten any movement anyway.
But there are teams where you're like, ooh, they do make moves. And then you've got the Royals who are like Jordan Lyles. That's what I'm saying. It's not even like plugged in.
The only team
plugged in.
The only team that's making any moves is the Braves. And they always do that. And they never leak their moves. It's just they post their
But there are other
press
teams
releases
that actually try. So we'll get to that. We'll talk a little Royals baseball. We'll talk some Chiefs. Jordan Foote will be joining us coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. We are off the air an hour earlier today.
Yeah, we are.
Because of hoops. That's right. K-State hoops. They are in action today against not your older brother's Villanova, okay?
No.
This is not Jay Wright Villanova.
We are 1 week beyond Villanova being by far the most overrated team in the country.
I don't
but now
think
they're
we're there yet.
No,
I don't know. I think we're there yet. Or we're already there.
Well, no, because they fell out of the rankings this week. That team was ranked 18th in the country last week.
No,
they should not have been ranked in the top 100 in the country last week.
What a weird year they've had. They blew through the Battle of Atlantis. They beat Texas Tech, North Carolina, and Memphis to win the Battle of Atlantis. Since then, they have lost to St. Joseph and Drexel.
We will have that
Go
5 o'clock start time today in the Big 12 Big East Challenge, which, by the way, Jerome Tang, not a fan of the Big 12 Big East Challenge.
I
thought
his rationale was weird for saying that.
I get it. He wants to schedule his own teams. I get it. He's forced to schedule that game. So that's why I get it.
No, I get that. But, like, your last two games were against Oral Roberts and North Alabama, and those are the games you scheduled. Like, it's better for everyone that you're playing Villanova.
It just depends on...
This game is sold out. This game's been sold out, so it's certainly better for K-State athletics, bottom line. It might not be better for K-State's basketball team to have to play Villanova. Like last year, playing all those nobodies that K-State played in the non-conference, maybe that served them better at that time than it has served this K-State team to have had to play two teams that have second weekend at least ceilings already in Miami and USC.
I will say this. If he had said that comment circa like January 20th or so, 2023, or before that, when the Big 12 SEC challenge was a thing, I would have said, Jerome, you are the smartest man in America, because this challenge is dumb as hell. It is stupid. It is a waste of time. Get rid of it. Now we don't have that, though, and this is actually during the regular non-conference portion of the season. And the fact that you get this game at home is actually pretty nice. I'd rather have it at home than have to go to... What is the name of Villanova's gym? Do they play at the Wells Fargo Center?
I think they play some of their bigger games at the Wells Fargo Center.
They have a home gym, which is
what I thought.
Really unique, by the way. I've been there, walked through it.
Finneran Pavilion.
It's not big. That's why they play a bunch of their bigger games at Wells Fargo Arena, because
6,500. Wow, that's tiny.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not very big.
Wow,
it's unique. It's a uniquely shaped building.
Yeah,
I can see how it could get really, really loud when I went there. My sister-in-law went to Villanova, and so I toured the campus. Beautiful campus, by the way.
This is the ugliest building I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, it looks weird. It looks really weird.
What the hell?
Yeah, and they renovated it. That's renovated.
Okay, so, but yeah, my point being, like, it's pretty nice for K-State to get this game at home.
I get what he's saying. I like fun games. I like when big power conferences play each other, so I'm on board. But as a guy who wants to schedule, I understand you don't want to be hamstrung or handcuffed or any type of retaining device for you doing what you want to do. So we'll be off the air a little bit earlier today. The Hawks are in action today as well.
They got the Ruse.
Well, they're in action. Let's just put it that way. That's why I didn't say the team that they played, because let's be real, UMKC should be a Division II team. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh yeah. Here's a question for you. Two-parter. What is UMKC's record this year, and how many wins do they have against Division I opponents?
They have 3 wins, and I'm going to say they have 1 against Division I.
No, I'm going to say they don't.
You are correct, Dan. They beat SEMO. Their other 2 wins.
Man, SEMO doesn't even count.
Didn't SEMO make the tournament within the last year? Or am I thinking of their football team?
Maybe that's because is Brad Korn there?
Yeah, he's done a great job with that team.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But still, that's not a real school.
It's more real than UMKC.
They've
Agreed.
got one guy on this roster. I'm looking at UMKC's roster. He's on his 5th school.
Yes, I saw that.
Christian Corso.
Yeah, Christian with a K.
That doesn't really shock me.
Pasadena City College, Nevada, Houston Baptist, Chattanooga, and now UMKC. Man, that's well traveled.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they've also got, to your point about being Division II, Lincoln Blue Tiger Gray Artez Stapleton plays for this team now.
So their other wins, by the way, Avila and the University of St. Mary.
Man, they didn't even play it. That's an NAIA school.
Yeah, 2 NAIA.
You should D1 schools should not be allowed to play NAIA.
That's what I said. They're in action. They're just in action.
Over under 20.5 for Hunter Dickinson.
Over. He should dominate this game.
Yeah.
So we got plenty to get to. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, and give us a shout on our YouTube stream. Go to youtube.com, type in 580 Sports Talk, hit the subscribe button.
Doug, they have another NAIA coming up. They play Tabor, too. Who allowed this schedule?
It's UMKC. They're not a real school.
What does a bye game look like when it's a bye game for a Division I paying an NAIA school? Like, what's the check?
$7.
25K?
No, not that much.
Nah, I wouldn't think it was that much. 25K might be what UMKC's getting tonight.
Not that much.
I guess I'm thinking in terms of football money.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our YouTube page. Very simple, very easy. You can check us out. All of the videos. Hit the subscribe button. We would appreciate that. We will have a little random question Tuesday, but we want to talk about one thing, Dan, that you said yesterday. You said the Chiefs' offense is improving. It is improving. And the last 2 games is the sample size, because prior to the last 2 games, the Kansas City Chiefs offense was not particularly exceptional. But if you want to include their last 3 games, here is what the Chiefs offense has done, though. All right. And this is simply getting yourself in the opportunity to score points. No 3-and-outs, that type of thing. Against the Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, as you alluded to yesterday, Dan, went field goal. That was the end of the first half. They had 2 possessions.
Yeah.
They scored on both of them. Okay. Second half, they went touchdown. Hey-o, let's go. We're moving the ball down the field, right? Then they go punt, interception, and then the very end, turnover on down. So they had 7 drives in the game. They scored on 4 of them, albeit 4 in a row. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That is 4 of 7 scoring drives. If you score on half of your drives, over half of your drives, I undersold the Chiefs. I'm sorry, Kansas City Chiefs. Sorry, Andy Reid, Matt Nagy. If you score above the 50% on your drives, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, the biggest issue is they had to settle for field goals. Now, let's go to the game against the Raiders. They went punt, touchdown. It was bleak early on. We know that, right? And then they went touchdown, punt, field goal. So they had 9 possessions in that game. And they scored on 5 of them. And they had 4 tutties. 4 tutties is pretty good. That's above 50%, right? If you're scoring on every other drive, that's not bad. That really isn't bad. Now let's go to the Eagles game, because the reason I'm going to bring this game up is because 1, it's against a good team. And 2, boy, howdy, there were a lot of possessions in that one. Here's what the Chiefs did, okay? Let's run them down with me. They started out, they went punt, touchdown, punt, interception, touchdown, field goal. All right. So in the first half, the Kansas City Chiefs had 17 points, but they had 3 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal. And then they had a punt, 2 punts, and an interception. Like, that was the entire game against the Packers, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, that first half was a big one, right? So that is what the Chiefs did in the first half. Then in the second half, they went punt, punt, fumble, punt, punt, downs. That is what they did in the second half. So the first half, they kind of took care of business, but the problem was they ended up with the field goal at the end and an interception in the red zone. But overall, the first half, they moved the ball. I mean, they scored 17 points in the first half. Chiefs are up 17-7, right? Life is good. Things are going well. And then in the second half, it was like, ooh, dear. 4 plays, 3 plays, fumble, punt, turnover on downs. Now, we'd have to point out, simple drop touchdown pass, and the Chiefs probably win the game if you think the Chiefs defense gets the stop. So that's the last 3 games. Outside of one half of football, the offense had a 50% chance of scoring drives. And the one time it didn't was in the game against the Eagles. So that is, Dan, what you put now, that's great because I never thought of that, is that you said, no, I think the Chiefs offense is starting to improve. Okay. Is it now just as simple as this for the Chiefs offense? The last couple of games. And the last couple of games, they've caught the ball, which is a big help, except for the game, the play against, MVS wide open in the middle of the field, where actually it hit his hands when he actually ran the right route. Is it as simple as this? Right now, the Chiefs, their biggest issue on offense is just in the red zone. It's simply in the red zone if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. And if the Chiefs can get 7 instead of 3, we are talking about a completely different narrative for this Kansas City Chief team. Is that now? Because at first it was a whole bunch of problems, right? It was penalties, it was turnovers, it was not catching passes, it was not running the ball. But over the last couple of games, they've ran the ball better. For the majority part of it, they have taken care of the football in the last 2 games. You're not going to go turnover free, for 7 straight games. That's just not going to happen in the NFL. So it comes down to, do you think that they just have to get better in the red zone? And if you get better in the red zone, you'll end up scoring 27, 28 points per game. And that is enough for the Kansas City Chiefs to beat their opponent.
Should be, right? Like you say, even in past years, like Chiefs score 27, you're going to win a hell of a lot more often than you're going to lose, particularly in a year where offense is down as it is. If the Chiefs can spin 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals, 5 scoring drives out of the 9 or 10 meaningful possessions that you generally get in the course of a game, I don't know what the league average of possessions per game is, but it is also pretty rare to only have 2 meaningful possessions in a half of football.
Well, in the game against the Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs had 7 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 6 of them. That's 6 possessions in the first half. That's a lot. Normally, in a game, you get 9 to 10. That's about normal, 9 to 10.
So can the Chiefs score on half of those possessions, get something in the neighborhood of 21 to 27 points, and have that hold up with the performance of their defense? I think when you do the math like that, it stands up as being pretty reasonable.
And I do. I think if the Chiefs are better in the red zone, and in the game against the Eagles, the problem you had is that Patrick Mahomes turned it over in the red zone. That was a problem. That was a bad pass. And then you had, who was it? Who fumbled?
Kelsey.
Yeah, it was Kelsey. Like, in the red
star
zone,
players making uncharacteristic mistakes in that game were very costly.
I don't care if it's Kelsey, Mahomes, or Blake Bell or whoever. If you don't turn it over in the red zone, that's an extra 6 points because you're at least going to get a field goal because Butker's been incredible. I mean, if you had 6 points to the Chiefs team in the game against the Eagles, I mean, that's a completely different situation. So it goes back even to the Eagle game. If you don't stink in the red zone, and the difference is you can be good in the red zone, which is get touchdowns. You don't stink in the red zone, which is you kick field goals. And then you just botch everything because that's what they did. Once you get in the red zone, you should never turn the ball over. Like, you should never, ever turn the ball over in the red zone. You have to walk away with at least 3 points if you are the Kansas City Chiefs, if you get the ball in the red zone. If you are any team. And that's why I think the Chiefs right now, I think what's replaced catching the ball, because they've done a much better job of that, save for one individual in a game that, cost them a big part of the game, the game against the Eagles. It's turnovers and it's red zone now. I think that's what the biggest factor for the Kansas City Chiefs offense going forward. And if you want to say the same things on the defensive side, because I think the defense has been really good. But if you are the Chiefs and you hold teams to field goals, even if the Chiefs offense isn't great, I think the Chiefs are going to be winning if you're holding teams to field goals. So the red zone might just be the biggest factor for the Kansas City Chiefs on either side of the football going forward.
Do you know where the Chiefs rank in the NFL in terms of touchdown percentage in the red zone?
Yeah, they're 13th. 55%.
Yeah.
So it's not terrible, but it's down from the last 3 years where they were above 60%, I think.
Last year, they were 71%.
Yeah, they were better in the red zone last year. Yeah.
That's crazy. The year before that, they were 62, and then you got to go back to 2020. That was a Super Bowl team, 59%. Wow, 71% last year. That's crazy.
So that's how I look like, and that's where Dan, you bring up a good point. The offense is getting better. It is moving the ball better. The issue is you got to get 7, and you still can't turn it. If they don't turn it over in the game against the Packers, and the Packers played almost a perfect game against the Chiefs. I mean, almost a perfect game. The only way that I would say the Packers didn't play a perfect game is that if they would have scored a touchdown on one of the last 2 drives, then they played a perfect game. They literally played a perfect game to beat the Chiefs. They couldn't quite close it out. That's why the Chiefs had not 1, not 2, but 3 chances. Mm-hmm. That's why I look at it. This offense is getting better.
But it's wild that perfection now is the standard that they have to get to make sure that they're going to win comfortably. Like, they have to be flawless. They can't turn the ball over. They have to score touchdowns every time they get in the red zone.
And the main reason why they don't have the big play this year. They don't have
right.
They don't have the explosive.
Yeah, they don't have that. They've lacked that ability to hit that 50, 60-yard home run play. That,
heck, I'd even say 30-yard home run play.
Yeah, they just they haven't had that ability. We have a text from 785 here that says, let's face it, Mahomes now a good quarterback, but not a great one. I would push back rather firmly on that notion that Mahomes is no longer great. He's 4th in the league in QBR. He's 3rd in the league in points above average by a quarterback. He's 2nd in the league in expected points added. He's awesome. Like, I don't know how much of this you put on, like, Patrick Mahomes is mortal now. Like, he's always been mortal, but, like, he's the best to do it. Is he having as good a year statistically as
and that's the problem.
Dak or
I thought you were gonna say something else.
Or Josh Allen or last year Patrick Mahomes or 2018 Patrick Mahomes? Like, the statistics have taken a step back. He's the same guy. Like, there's no decline in skill here. The tool set is all there. If anything, he's been better as a scrambler this year, I would say, than probably any year in his career. The issue has been that the playmakers around him have not been to the standard. And so you are asking for and needing Patrick Mahomes to be the off-the-scale player that he has been in his career to raise the ceiling.
I think the biggest difference in Patrick Mahomes this year and last year is he's been, like, unworldly, and that's what you expect. You expect, like, 2-time MVP, the greatest quarterback of all time. And now, do I think he's playing as well as
This is not his best season as a pro. That is fair to say.
This is his worst season as a pro. But also, let's factor in. I mean, they beat the Eagles if MVS just catches the ball. Like what was funny is in the press conference afterwards, what did Mahomes say? Well, I threw it too far. I let him too far. That one should have been thrown a little bit shorter.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Yeah.
Okay, we talk about that. That adds another touchdown to it. Right?
It's his lowest quarterback rating of his career, but his QBR is higher this year than it was in 2021.
So that's why I look at one. It's a couple of. We expect him to be insane every single game, and he also isn't getting the help from his teammates.
Well,
plain and simple.
That's the point there, and it fits because this is who the Chiefs played this weekend. But the Chiefs made the same bet this year on their receiver group that the Packers made for the last 3 years of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Now the difference, well, not even the difference, because the Chiefs have one guy who is, Hall of Fame caliber. It's Travis Kelce. Those Packers teams had one guy who was Hall of Fame caliber in Devontae Adams. And then, what a perfect fit. MVS was on both of these squads. But you have a bunch of just guys. Yeah. And on their own, you say, okay, there's you can see the intrigue in a Rashee Rice, or you can see why the Chiefs had high hopes for Kadarius Toney. Just with what Green Bay was doing, you can say Randall Cobb's old and injured, but he has a good relationship with the quarterback, and Lazard does some things nice. It's the exact same thing. And I think it is further proof that now we often have, in draft circles, especially, there's a lot of talk of what are the 4 premium positions. Green Bay always drafts exclusively these positions in the first round. It's quarterback, it's offensive tackle, it's edge rusher, and it's cornerback. Those are your 4. Wide receiver is now the 5th. Having a pass-catching weapon is now your 5th. And having depth there, I think, is maybe even more important than having one elite guy.
How many wide receivers have the Packers drafted in the last couple of years? A lot.
5 in the last 2 years?
A lot.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's 6 wide receivers.
Yeah, that's
5 wide receivers and 2 tight ends in the last 2 years, because they realized, hey, we think
you need options.
We think Jordan Love's our guy. We gave him a 2-year mini extension to give him some time to figure it out. We kicked out Aaron Rodgers to have this guy. We think it's going to work. Let's help him out and get him some dudes. And it looks like those draft picks, a lot of them are panning out so far, still early.
Yep.
For the Chiefs, again, I don't think you need to go man, Devontae Adams is disgruntled. Let's go get him. I don't think you need that kind of player. But what if you had 3 Rashee Rices instead of 1? Can you? That's less snaps that Justin Watson has to be out there.
Sky Moore
just
and then they
doing laps.
They missed
Sky Moore's messing up.
But they've only drafted 2 wide receivers. In the last 2 years.
I would expect that. I mean, they've only got 5 picks next year, but I got to imagine one of those higher ones is going to go.
I think they're going to add another pick to that though, because
with a tag and trade with Chris Jones.
That's
probably.
I would guess if I was the Chiefs too, and this sounds kind of weird talking about these positional issues that they have, I would not be shocked if they don't make that first round pick. I would not be shocked if that becomes another 2 and a 5 or something.
Also, you mentioned that they completely off topic, but I do want to mention this because the word of 2023 found out. Do you know what the word of the year was by Webster's Dictionary?
Was it Riz?
It was Riz. It was.
We live in a very dark timeline.
But I would say the word should have been vibes. And man, Aaron Rodgers getting out of that locker room was the greatest thing to happen for that locker room. Yeah. The vibes now are completely different in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Completely different.
And you know the thing, all the guys who were around last year, and Jordan Love too, have been no, he was a great teammate. We have nothing bad to say about the guy. And I think he was a good team. He hyped up Jordan Love today on McAfee. But the last 3 years, it was Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Now it is the Packers.
Yeah, the vibes are
it's helped a lot.
Different.
No, it really has.
Completely different.
Also, Jordan Love has Riz.
Oh, yeah, he's the new Riz King.
Would we say he is the new Riz King?
Who's he with?
Well, his girlfriend, who was put on the moon of Arrowhead Stadium, they're still together. But no, he's the new Riz King. He's got the Riz.
No, regrettably, the new Riz King is former LSU pitcher, #1 overall pick in the MLB draft, Paul Skeens.
Yes, that's Riz.
Literally rizzed up Livy, and now the two of them are
like, if anything, you know who's got Riz? Travis Kelce.
We need to take a time.
Taylor Swift.
Everyone is going to turn the show off. We need to take a time out.
Not anybody under the age of 21.
We started speaking like Gaelic right now.
We need to get
the vast majority of our audience.
Coming up next, we got a little random question Tuesday. And, you guys, the portal, it's popping. We're going to get to that coming up. The portal is popping, folks. It's a club that I never got a chance to get in, the transfer portal. Did you know, and this was yesterday, okay? The Division I football players that entered the portal yesterday, just yesterday, was 1,080. FBF scholarship players that have entered the portal yesterday, 5,480. That's incredible. That is incredible. Now,
what was the total number?
The tweet from Matt Zenitz said some final transfer portals numbers from yesterday. Division I football players that entered the portal yesterday, 1,080. FBF scholarship players that entered the portal yesterday, 5,480.
Wow, that's crazy. That's almost 41 per school.
Now,
that can't be right.
I think 5,480 is total. And I can probably see that.
Out of all 135 teams?
Yes.
Wait.
I'm just reading you the exact tweet. Yeah, Division I includes both FBS and FCS. Is what he clarifies here. Now, I'm just going with what the tweet, and honestly, the numbers don't really matter to my point that I want to make here. I have no problem if you want to transfer. I don't. And I think lumping these numbers together and just lumping transfer numbers together is a very poor way of explaining the transfer portal.
By the way, we have the numbers wrong. And Matt Zenitz corrected. He edited his tweet. It was 530 FBS players that entered the portal yesterday.
Oh, and okay, gotcha.
530.
FBS, yeah.
Yes, that is a much more fathomable average of 4 per team.
But the total number, FCS and FBS yesterday, was 1,008.
Okay,
yes.
Combining the two.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. I'm glad we got the right numbers. Here's the thing. I hate how people lump these together, and the reason why is every single situation to me is different, and that's why you can't do this, okay? Perfect example of somebody would be, an FCS player who's really, really good. The quarterback for New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna get a job at Minnesota. He's gonna be the starting quarterback in Minnesota next year. That's a different situation. All right. Nate Matlack, completely different situation. He's a really good defensive end. Doesn't want to put his hand in the dirt or doesn't want to be on the inline, right? He wants to be an edge, right?
Uh-huh.
Different situation. Okay. Every one of these situations is different. And everyone knows that their talent level is different. Nate Matlack is going to get an offer somewhere. Guaranteed, 1,000%. He will be playing at a Power 5 institution next year. Don't know where, but he will be. The reason I don't like that is because that's a good situation. The New Hampshire quarterback, he got to transfer, right? That's a good situation. That's a good transfer. Really good transfer. Last year in this situation, there were a couple of really good transfers for Kansas State. For Sean Ward, great situation that he did. Transferring to K-State worked out well. So transferring is just not that, the old guard, if you will, transferring. Oh, you're not sticking it out.
So you're talking about the connotation here.
Yes. Like
there is a negative connotation that connects to transferring.
And the transfers, oh my gosh, this is just a travesty. Like there are 530 people who are wanting to leave their school. Oh my gosh, nobody's sticking it out anymore. There's no more Jason Beans anymore. Like look at
which is funny because Bean was a transfer.
Kind of both sides there.
Right, right.
Like, Josh Rubley not fighting for the job and Adrian Lara not fighting for the job. Like, what are these kids doing? They're just leaving and quitting and all that kind of stuff. You're making me sound like an old guard. So there is some that are good transfers, but there are some that you're going to find out the grass is not greener. You are not going to be getting the job that you want. You got to be careful. Now, another example of somebody in the transfer portal, somebody at K-State, not getting to play a whole lot. Maybe I'll drop down. Maybe I'm going to transfer to an FCS school, Yeah, maybe I'll go to a D2 school.
There are a couple of kids that were in-state PWOs that have left the K-State program. Yeah. Shadiron Blanca from St. Francis, Dre Delort from Manhattan have both left the program and are probably thinking, it was cool to be Division I, but I would like to play football. I would like to get out and play. And the realistic truth for those players is it's probably not going to happen for them at the Division I level.
And if they transfer down, is that them giving up? Is that them not fighting for a job. No.
Well, if it's a year ago now, but if you want an even closer local example, the Topeka High's product, Tylen Alejos, who's now with Washburn. Yeah. He walked on at KU, said, hey, I love my experience. I got to, I was in their strength program. I got to know what college football was like in a big program. Now I want to go play. I'm going to go back to Topeka and play at Washburn. I mean, that's smart. That's not fighting. That's smart.
And so that's why I don't like the lumping of this stuff.
I see your point.
But I also do want to, there are people who get in players' minds, like I don't know where Josh Rubley's going to go. I don't know where Lara's going to go. They might not end up where they think they're going to be. It might not be greener. And that is what I want to tell players. And sometimes it all depends on the coach. You go in the transfer portal, I'm done. You left. I'm not going to bring you back. Mm-hmm. I got to find other ways to make this thing work. I got to go into the portal and fill your spot. Some coaches will say, oh, you want to come back? Perfectly fine. That's not a problem. So I know that this is a big topic right now, is the transfer. I mean, the fact that 1,000 people playing Division I football transferred. There's not going to be enough scholarships out there for everyone. That is why I want the players to make sure that they're not doing it because your Uncle Rico is saying, you're really good, you're awesome, you're terrific, you're fantastic. Because there are a couple of Division II studs. One of them went from Pittsburgh State, didn't get a single carry this upcoming year at Tarleton. One from Central Missouri, didn't get a single carry at their respective school.
Not everybody is Cody Schrader. Like you look at a success story like that, they're out there, but that's not everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think we're still so early relatively in the life cycle of the transfer portal that there will be more stories that are not Cody Schrader. That's the kid's name from Mizzou, right?
Yeah.
That went from Truman State to leading the SEC in rushing.
Walked on at Mizzou, yeah.
It wasn't even a scholarship kid. Decided I'm going to take a swing at D1 and led the SEC in rushing yards. There are going to be a lot fewer of those stories for coaches to show players, and a lot more stories of guys who, hey, they left a program and they went somewhere else, and it was the same situation for them. It was, in fact, it was worse because you were behind your peers because those guys had 1 year, 2 year, 3 years in a system that you were just getting to know. So I do think these numbers will drop in the end. And also, like, when you think of how big the ecosystem of Division I football is, like, we're talking about 5 kids per school. We're not talking about, other than like when you have a new coach come in to a program and he can cut kids, like what happened to Colorado, what happened to Texas State. Like, it's just really 3-4 kids a program that are deciding, hey, I need a different opportunity. There are a million valid reasons that you want to leave. But yeah, if you do leave thinking, I'm going to go somewhere else and be a star, yeah, you might have a hard truth coming back your way.
It's also the other example, and I'm sorry if you had already mentioned this. Not all these kids chose to transfer.
That's true too.
Not everyone is told, like, well, we got to keep you. We got to keep you. Don't go. No, there are a lot of kids who will tell you, like, no, I was told if I want to go play, I need to transfer.
You want to know the perfect program? And it's not football. It's a different school. What school was that this last year?
Colorado.
No. Yes, correct. Yeah, but I'm right here in our backyard, KU. Mm-hmm. The amount of guys that Bill Self said, nah, fam, you ain't it.
And look, like, if you're a good coach, and I think, all the reports we've heard is, Self had conversations with Joe Yesfu and Cam Martin and said, look, guys, like, appreciate the effort and we're going to help you. We're going to help you find a place, but it's just not going to happen here.
Well, it's more so you're not good enough.
Well,
they probably said, you're not going to get playing time, which that really meant was you're not good enough. We need to get better. Like, Bill said, we got to get better. Mm-hmm. Well, the best way to get better,
you can find new players.
Get better players.
So
pretty easy.
No, that's the business.
Yep. Coming up next, we do got a little random question Tuesday. We got lots more here on 580 Sports Talk. Random Question Tuesday here on Tuesday. See how I put that together there?
Yeah, that was really creative.
Yeah, well done.
They don't call me the best color man in the biz for nothing. All right. What do you got for your random question?
All right, what is your most recent get off my lawn take? I don't want like the one you've held your whole life. I don't want your biggest one. The one that most recently you thought of that's a get off my lawn take.
Man, I just had a really good one that I said something yesterday. What was it? Oh man, it was strong.
Mine comes up. I think it has come up every single Sunday this season. Every single one. Put your damn mouthpiece in. It's not doing you any good dangling in front of your face on your face mask, NFL players. Put the damn mouthpiece in. It's right there. It takes nothing to put it in. You're not talking during the play. Packers Chiefs, just Sunday night. Jaden Reed takes a jet sweep, got the mouthpiece, flop it all over.
Okay.
Put the damn thing in.
Stephon Diggs, big non-mouthpiece guy that dangles.
Yeah, and then he bit his tongue and had to get taken out of a game at one point last year.
Yeah. No, he's a big mouthpiece guy out. Yeah.
That's a super take.
Oh yeah, big time. I admit it.
Yeah, I got off the take last night. NBA in-season tournament, not for me. Don't need this. This is a gimmick. Oh, the players are playing hard in a game? Wow. They didn't need a fake trophy and gimmicky courts to make Michael Jordan play hard.
No,
Larry Bird brought it in December. You need these fake stakes and a tournament in Las Vegas?
Speaking of which, speaking of Bird and Jordan, big fan of now a lot of the former players talking about stories of like Bird's trash talk and Jordan's trash talk. Big fan of that. Real big fan of finally people saying, yeah, Bird, that dude was the dude. And my favorite one was when somebody said, you know, when you were in college, and I didn't remember who it was, but he said, yeah, we scrimmaged the dream team. And you don't realize how big Larry Bird is until you see Larry Bird in person.
Yeah, he was legit 6'9".
He was legit 6'9" and a big 6'9". You know, he's not like a skinny 6'9". They go, yeah, that's the one thing. Yeah, man, damn, that's Larry Bird. Damn. And then you got like Grant Hill and Byron Scott telling things. So yeah, that was a good one. I can't think of one of mine that I had a good one. I talked about it yesterday. Can't think. If I think of it, I'll let you know.
Let me know. Yeah.
My random question today: what is your procedure for doing laundry? I gotta know if I'm the weird one here, but I need to know how you guys, you grown adult men, how do you go about doing the laundry, or is that something that you don't do and you leave it to your significant other?
So here's the thing about laundry. Everybody does it differently. I've come to find out. So I don't think you're the weird one. I think here's what I do with laundry. I try to do like 3 loads in a day. And that's what I try to do. Like we try to do. This is not just a one man show here. So what we do is it depends upon how much clothes are being used. And when you got kids, sometimes they go through a lot of clothes. So we don't have a set day.
Sure.
It's just
when as needed.
So what we do is you start it when you get home at like, you know, my wife starts at, 5 o'clock or something like that. And then you just put it, you get it all done and we put it on our bed until the kids go to bed. And then it turns into folding time.
Okay.
And then we just fold, my wife and myself, together while we watch a football game, while we watch a show, while we do something. It's a team effort because...
See, where I'm wondering if I'm the weird one, though, is that I sort based on what to wash on cold and what to wash on warm.
I used to.
Yeah,
I used to do that.
I shove everything on cold now.
Yeah, that's right.
I am a rule follower when it comes to laundry because I like keeping my stuff nice. I don't want any like the logos on my stuff to fade. I don't want anything to shrink.
If you do it in cold, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to always separate colors and whites and what goes in cold, what goes in warm. I used to. Now I don't. However, also when I lived alone and before I was married, I mean, I did the laundry like as infrequently as possible. Like I would rather just go buy a new package of underwear than do the laundry. And it become like a whole day thing.
You buy enough then to like go 2.5 weeks if you need to without doing the laundry. Where now,
it's how much pairs of underwear you got, because you got enough t-shirts and hoodies, and you can wear jeans, like rotate them once every like 3 days.
And then you get down to like, shoot, the only thing left in my closet is the ratty, like novelty SpongeBob SquarePants underwear. Like, shoot, now I gotta do the laundry.
That tells me that Brennan has a lot of underwear, folks.
That's real though. Like you do that now that I live in a house and have my own laundry, like washer and dryer. I do laundry every week. There are pairs of drawers I probably haven't worn in like 3 years.
Wow. Yeah,
because
I
you circle the
haven't gone
good
that
ones.
Deep into the rotation.
You do the good ones.
We don't have an especially big laundry hamper in our place, and we don't have our own washing machine. We ended up probably doing laundry twice a week, and Abby does most of it, but that's because she's home more than I am. I did it the other night. I try to fold at least half the time. But yeah, we do a lot of laundry, but she just throw it in and get it done.
We get really lazy about folding, my wife and I. Like I'll leave a basket full of like clothes for like 2 days before I decide I should probably fold this.
You say you got a lot of laundry.
Well, I mean, relative for like, 2 people.
For 2 people. Yeah.
Relative
for 2 people.
No, we do it probably at least twice a week. And I when you got kids, and there's just so many clothes. But yeah, we just pile it all together, and then it turns into everybody fold. I don't mind folding. A lot of people hate folding.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
you
like
hate folding. It sounds like.
Folding not the most fun.
I don't mind.
I loathe doing the laundry. That is a bottom 2 chore for me. I'm not sure what number 2 is, but it's down there.
My laundry setup is in the basement, which is where I got my 3 TVs all set up. So it's an excuse to go down and I'll do laundry on a night where there are 3 games on I would like to watch at the same time.
So you need to do laundry last night, or you need to do laundry Thursday night.
Sunday or Saturday, college football Saturday, big laundry days. Laundry days in Lucero House.
Coming up, we're going to talk a little Royals baseball. JJ Piccolo threw out a number. We're going to get to that. Plus, we hear from Jordan Foote on All Things Chiefs. Sports Talk on this Tuesday. Jake LeBon, Brennan Dorzinski, Dan Lucero with you today, leading you into some K-State basketball. K-State taking on Villanova. For the first time, KU is not playing Villanova, and Brendan is not having the shakes. So that is a positive thing for Brendan Dorzinski.
I do still, and remember, I said following the 2022 Final Four, I no longer hate Jay Wright. There's a part of me that's still a little bitter, but I do not any longer hate Jay Wright, and I can say nice things about him. However, I do sometimes see him pop up on CBS, and I do kind of get a little bit of a chill.
Hey, what game was it they got boat raced on CBS? A TCU game at Allen Fieldhouse. They got boat raced on CBS last year, the Jayhawks, and Jay Wright was on color commentary.
Yeah.
Just him being in the building. I said, oh, man, this is not a great omen for the Jayhawks.
No, bad vibe.
And then they lost by about a zillion points. TCU shot it inexplicably like the 2015 Warriors for a game.
The Wildcats taking on Villanova doesn't quite do the same. Also, if you don't think coaching matters in college basketball,
go look at Villanova.
Just look at Villanova. Which, by the way, that's an injury that I would have loved to seen that game played differently with UConn and KU in the Final Four. If the guard didn't
Villanova and
yeah.
KU? Oh, yeah.
Who did I say?
You said UConn.
Oh, I meant.
But UConn had a big injury this week, too.
But Villanova.
Yeah, you're thinking of Justin Moore.
Yeah, he was so good.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot more of. I still think KU wins, but it wasn't a game at all.
No, KU was dominant.
Villanova tonight will go to overtime.
No, K-State wins in regulation. Blood bank lock.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't love saying that. I don't think Villanova is very good. I think Kyle Neptune is a crappy head coach.
I also want to point out that
more like Kyle Pluto.
They went to overtime.
Not even a planet.
They went to overtime with North Alabama and Oral Roberts. Okay.
Yeah.
Just point that out.
I saw someone today. I think I was on the Go Power Cat message boards because I can't get enough. And I saw someone say, all right, I'm not going to hold Oral Roberts against us. That's an actually good team. And I thought, brother, this is not Paul Mills and Max Asmus, Oral Roberts. This is not a very good team.
I don't think that they're
not awful.
They're great, but
it's not like the one that beat Ohio State in the 2021 tournament.
No.
Not quite that level with who's the big kid ended up transferring to Tech.
Yeah.
It
starts with an O. Banner. Obanor.
Yeah.
Banner.
Yeah.
Banner.
I mean, they're not Lindenwood. I mean, anytime I get a chance to take a shot at Lindenwood, I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that was a drive-by right there.
No, that was not. That was directed.
What do you think?
That was directed. That was not a drive-by. That was, I'm going to find them.
I think they just dropped another athletic department during the course of this segment.
Yeah, man, they're dropping a ton of sports.
Well, because they had 87 prior. Great, they got 83 now.
Okay, here's a fun little full circle moment for you.
Real quick before we.
Okay.
Who's favored, Villanova or K-State?
Villanova by 1.5.
Villanova favored by 2.5. So if you like the Cats, go ahead and take them money line. You get plus 114. Otherwise, you can take plus 2.5 at minus 114.
So
Brendan,
I might take the Cats money line.
Taking the Cats.
I might try a little sprinkle. I might do that.
By the way, KU is a 26.5 point.
Hammer that
over UMKC.
Minus 20,000 on the money line.
So Lindenwood is ranked 336th in KenPom.
Lindenwood couldn't even compete in the MIAA, let alone the NCAA.
They are only the second worst Ohio Valley team, though. Can you guess the worst? Hint, they've come up on the show today.
SEMO.
It is SEMO, which is the only D1 team that UMKC has beaten. Somehow, though, UMKC is not in the 300s. They're only 281st in KenPom. So good for them.
Yeah. All right, I want to get to some baseball chatter.
Oh,
okay.
Let's do it. Put me in, coach.
It is but Dan, unlike you, The stove is not hot.
That's a lie.
The stove,
no, that is a lie. The stove is beginning to percolate. The stove has been turned on, and it is the notch above simmer from John Morosi, who covers Major League Baseball for the MLB Network. Free agent right-handed pitcher Lucas Giolito, 29,
coming to the Royals,
is drawing interest from the Dodgers, Mets, Red Sox, Diamondbacks, and Royals.
There we go. Now I'll give you that. You said Royals.
I did.
Because
Royals mentioned.
Here's the thing. And I'm sorry, you guys, because Dan, you were one of the most. You and Fulton love baseball more than maybe anybody I know. Brendan, when you like baseball.
I love baseball, but baseball makes me mad.
So baseball, I don't care about baseball unless it involves the Royals. Okay, they fully lost me. I am now my own team matters. So now that the Royals are interested, okay, it is plugged in. I'm not saying it's on yet, Dan, but it's actually plugged in.
Making that buzzing sound.
It's plugged in.
I don't know if you were here when I said
it's an electric stove, apparently.
The other day. I know Dan was here when I said this. I am committed. I am not going to get mad about the Royals offseason until the first day of spring training. I ask that you hold me to that. I am not going to get mad about the Royals. Because let me tell you, if I had not made that goal for myself, I would be very mad about the Royals. But I'm going to hold off on that for now.
Here we go. We're going to start it off here. The Royals have been relatively active over the first month of the offseason, according to the MLB Trade Rumors website. The Royals general manager, J.J. Picollo, spoke with members of the media at the winter meetings. Most notably, J.J. Picollo revealed that he has at least $30 million to spend in free agency. That could bring the team's payroll to just over $100 million, a total that the Royals have not surpassed since 2019. All right. Let's first point out that they said at least $30 million. Okay. So in this situation, technically it could be an infinite number, right? At least 30. Normally, when someone says at least 30, that means they're going to go above that, but not New York Met offseason money, right? That means the Royals, to me, are going to spend $50 million. That's it. They're going to spend $50 million. Okay. Because you're not going to say spend 30 and then, like, that's it. Like, that's not maximum. But you're not going to say, oh, we're going to spend 50 and then you don't spend 50 because then Royals fans will really riot.
This is a remarkable display of optimism from you.
Yeah. No, I'm
thinking that they're going to do what they say they're going to do.
Well,
they say they got $30 million to spend. I have gone to, like, a convenience store with $10 to spend, and then I only get like one thing of Rolo for. I don't even like Rolo. Why did I come up with that? But like $1.29, I leave with $8 in my pocket.
So here's where you say, oh, they're going to spend $50 million. All right. Well, the problem is if they spend $50 million. All right. What do we need, guys? What do we need to be competitive? Okay, we're going to need at least 2 starting pitchers, right, in free agency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right now you've only got really 2.
If the idea is to be like competitive and not lose 109 games again,
yes, you need at least 2. I need 2 starting pitchers because you've got Reagans and you've got Singer. Yeah. Like that's basically it. Okay. So you're going to need at least 2. That gets you to 4, and then you try to cobble it together, with all that. Okay. Well, you're going to need at least a couple bullpen arms. You're going to need some bullpen arms, at least 2 bullpen arms. Okay. So we know that. So that's 4 players right now. All right. We're going to need at least one more bat. So probably, depending upon how you view
it. Well, they check that box. Garrett Hampson.
They need at least one more bat. And do we want to be conservative and just say 1? Okay. Let's let's be conservative and say
Sure.
just one.
Sure.
It also makes the math easier, okay? That means the Royals are going to need at least 5 dudes in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
And the maximum that I think that they're going to spend is $50 million, which, to Dan's point, damn, Jake, you optimistic. You're right. $50 million on 5 guys. That equals out to $10 million a player. What can you get for $10 million a player that's going to help your team go from 106 losses?
So that's
the problem.
You have so
many needs, and you're going to spend $50 million?
The generally accepted formula, sabermetrically speaking, is that a win costs you about $7.5 million. That's the value of a win in Major League Baseball. $7.5–8 million. It's the value of a win. The Royals won 56 games last year. The playoffs in the American League, the 5th wildcard team or the 6th wildcard team in the American League won 89 games.
No, don't go there. Go Central, because the Central is that much worse than everybody.
Sure. Yeah, good point.
Go Central.
The division winner in the Central won 87 games last year. So the Royals need 31 wins to get from where they were last year to a record that could get them to contend for a division title this year. I'm going to do a little quick math. 31 times 7.5. 31 wins at $7.5 million per win. That is $232.5 million.
No, but here's the thing. Ready, Dan? I don't need them to win the division. I don't. I need them to be competitive. So give me 75 wins.
Okay, that's
I just want you to not suck in June, July, and August.
That's 19 wins.
Okay, there you go.
19 wins, $7.5 million per win. That's $142.5 million.
See, Dan, you're even more, critical. All I want you to do is not be out of it in May. I remember myself and Fulton, we did the Royals funeral on May 7th. May 7th. I got the schedule right here. We did it. It was the Monday after the Oakland series when they lost 2 of 3 to Oakland. I came on the show on May 7th. I was like, well, let's talk about, or May 8th, let's talk about something other than Royals, because every single decision they make from now on should be about 2024. I said 50 million, and Dan, you said, Jake, that's way too optimistic. They need 5 players. That means you're going to spend $10 million. Dan, real quick, tell me, how much did the Royals spend on Jordan Lyles last year?
2 years, $18 million. That's a
17.
17. Okay, yeah.
I was actually.
That's my point. That's the guys you're going to go out and get with $50 million. Is the Jordan Lyles of the world.
Here's my question for you. How much did the Royals spend in free agency last year? Total value of the contracts they handed out to a grand total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players.
And these are new players, like new acquisitions.
Free agent signings last year. Well, one of them was a guy they brought back with a new contract. Jake Brentz.
Okay, so he doesn't count because he was with the team.
All right, so if you want to take Jake Brentz out of it, he got a 2-year deal, so I will subtract the total money he got.
Yarbrough got like $3 million. Ryan Yarbrough. Lyles, it was 17, so we're around 20. Chapman, Aroldis Chapman wasn't much. That was what, 7-8 million maybe? Something along those lines. Who else here was a free agent addition? Goodness gracious.
Here's your list. From most.
Oh, Franmil Reyes, maybe?
No, here's your list from most to least expensive. They don't have a number for Franmil Reyes since he was a minor league deal. Jordan Lyles, Zach Greinke. Okay, so he was another guy they brought back. Aroldis Chapman, Ryan Yarbrough, Jake Brentz, Matt Duffy, Matt Beatty, Jackie Bradley Jr.
Okay, yeah, full value there. You're talking probably 25 million to 30.
30. I took out Jake Brentz's number, and that got you to 36 million.
Wow, really?
That's what they spent last year, and that's with Chapman was half as much as you guessed. He was only 3.7 mil.
Oh wow!
So that's my point. Like, oh yeah, we get.
So what difference maker are you going to get with that money?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm with you.
This is the problem. Like, oh, we got at least 30 million. Holy cow, a whole 30 million. My goodness.
So this is how the Royals have to approach this offseason if they're really going to go be a player in free agency. Lucas Giolito is a guy who has had success. He's been an all-star. I think he got some Cy Young votes a couple years ago. Last year he wasn't very good. So what you're hoping is that Lucas Giolito would accept like a 1-year sort of pillow contract, maybe with a player option for next year where he could return to form for you. But there's not a lot of certitude in like what you're going to get for your money with Lucas Giolito. Like, is the arm shot? Is the fastball gone? Is the curveball gone? Or is he just a guy who's going to gobble up innings for you? Or can he return to the form that, I mean, he threw a no-hitter. Like, he's been a really good starting pitcher in this league.
He got Cy Young votes 3 times, including twice in the top 10.
He's been a really good pitcher in this league before. Can he still be that guy? I mean, if he were still that guy, he wouldn't be affordable for the Royals. They couldn't afford him. He'd be getting $20 million a year from somebody.
You need the bounce back
so
year.
You need guys like that. Like, I'm not looking at a list of free agents, but surely there's a guy like I don't think they need a first baseman, but somebody like Rhys Hoskins, who missed all of last year with injury for the Phillies. He had been their first baseman, big power bat. Maybe that's not the kind of bat that plays really well at Kauffman Stadium, but maybe he'd do a 1-year deal with, a player option. But that's the kind of player you're looking to sign. And you could maybe get 4 or 5 of those guys and hope for the best case scenario. But again, you're so far away from contending that you justify not spending any money by saying, look, we're not going to be able to get the kind of players we need to get in free agency to get us to 81 wins or 85 wins or 90 wins, or whatever it is. We have to give young players an opportunity and continue to find out which of these young guys is going to be players who get you closer to that goal.
The thing is
but we've been doing that for 6 years, and it's just wheel spinning at this point.
The problem that frustrates me so much is that I'm not asking you to win the division. I'm asking you not to be terrible.
Just improve.
Not improve, because improvement means 62 wins. I want you
real improvement.
I want you to I don't care about the record, honestly. I just want you to be competitive come August 1st. Just at least keep my interest August 1st. And the way to do that is to have better players. How do you have better players? You have to spend money and draft better. Well, they haven't drafted well, so now you got to spend the money. Like that's like if you have and every year is different to me. Like if they go out and they do the same type of free agent spending like you just said there, folks, there's no reason for you to pay attention to the Royals this year because they're not trying to win. So why should you care if they win or not? Yep. Like now, let's say they improve and win 70 games this year. And then next year in the offseason of 2024, they go out and they spend more money and they go out and get a couple guys. And you're like, okay, we won 75 games. We went out and we got, a pitcher who's pretty good and we spend some money. Then guess what? You improved last year. You won 75 games. Now you went and actually spent money. And now you say, okay, we've got this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and we added this guy. Guess what? Now I'm invested. Now I'll pay attention. But until they do that, you will not have me invested in the Royals.
I think that if you are inclined to dream a little bit on this team, it's based on their lineup, right? They got a bunch of super young guys still. Witt's 23, Garcia's 23, Prado's 24, Massey's 25, Melendez is 24, Pasquantino missed half of last season. He's only 25. He'll be back. Drew Waters is 24. Nick Lofton had a nice cameo at the end of last year. He's 24. There's a bunch of young guys, and you can see, like, there might still be, like, maybe there's not a great big leap for Bobby Witt because he's already awesome, but maybe there's a leap forward for Melendez or Pasquantino or Massey or Prado or a bunch of those guys. And that's the hope, right? That those guys, as they get to their mid to late 20s, will improve, and your core group of young position players plays well, and you've got maybe an above average offense. Great. Where's the pitching come from? That's why that does need to be their offseason priority. They need to go get 1 or 2 guys that can, not superstars. They don't need prime Lucas Giolito, but if they could get a version of Lucas Giolito or anybody who can take the mound every 5 days without embarrassing themselves, like, that's what this group needs, because Dan, it's hard to even be competitive when you know that 2 out of every 5 days, you're sending a guy to the mound who is not going to give you a chance to win. Well, that's demoralizing. And that was the reality for the Royals for the bulk of last year. And I think it's a big reason why they ended up 56 and 106.
You ready? And this is why I say you just have to go out and get somebody different. Here are the ERAs for the players last year, right? Who started games. 6.2, 5.5, 5.0. Cole Reagans was your pitcher of the year, and he started 12 games.
Yeah, he got there halfway through the year.
Like, come on. Here's your other ERAs for guys who started. Lynch, 4.6. Alec Marsh, 5.6. Yarbrough, which that was unfortunate. Dude got smoked in the face with a baseball. Brad Keller is not even going to be, like that's what I'm saying. But to your point about the I'm down bad, you guys. Like, I'm down bad. I'm not even going to believe in the young guys until they actually do it to start a season. Because here's the thing, ready? Mm-hmm. It's easy to swing a bat in August and September when you have the only pressure is individual pressure. Am I going to make the team next year? Mm-hmm. What has happened for the Royals? They're out of it by May. They stink early on. I need you to be good when it matters. I need you to be able to hit the ball when the start of the season. Jake, but it takes some time to get ready. You know what? Last year, the Royals were me in every golf tournament that I've ever entered, and I fire an 89 round one, and I have no chance. And all I'm going to be is, well, am I going to be in the 4th or 5th flight? No, if we're talking about being competitive, you need to be good in April, right out of the gate, when it matters. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter when you've lost 79 games already and it's June 2nd. There's no pressure. So the Melendezes, and Bobby Witt's included, because he did not have a good start to the year last year.
No, everybody came out of the gate slow. Yeah.
You need to be within 2 games of 500 at the beginning of May. That's all you need to be, because then you can at least say, hey, guess what? We're still in it. We're still in it come May 1st. You ready? Here's the Royals record at the end of April. 7-22. Season's over. Who cares?
Yeah.
So I need Vinny Pasquantino. I need Bobby Witt. I need Nick Prado. I need every one of those young dudes to actually be not good. I need you to be decent. Not 117 batting average, whoever that was last year who played second base and then turned it around a little bit.
Massey started really slow.
You just can't do that. Otherwise, why pay attention to you?
Couple of texts onto the text line, 785-272-9429. From the 785, could be another 15, 20-year stretch of what we had growing up. I'll admit as a fan, this feels too familiar. Sucks some of the hope out that I had when we got new ownership. Also, this from the 316. Come on, Jake. Just think how good they'll play in a new stadium.
John Sherman's a listener?
Hey, that doesn't concern me as much because that ain't coming out of my pocket. I'm going to go to 1 or 2 Royals games a year. I don't care if it's at the K or if it's wherever. Don't really care. That's a Kansas City issue.
The thing that is the most frustrating is just that there is a clear way to start the process of getting out of this. And I don't think we know. And I'm just sort of summarizing here, but I don't know that the Royals are actually committed to doing it. Yeah. And that's what is the stake in the heart.
I'll say this, though. If they get a Giolito deal over the line, if Lucas Giolito signs with the Royals, that's a good sign. Because, A, that means they've been able to sell this Lucas Giolito, that the place to be for him to resurrect his career is Kansas City. And 2, it shows that they are committed at least to bringing in somebody who can take the ball every 5 days and give you a chance to win. Because flat out, the biggest problem last year for the Royals was they had one of those guys, and he didn't join the rotation until July.
You see what the Royals have done to me? I thought we took a break.
Nope.
I thought we took a break because this is what the Royals do. But I'm going to pull a Brennan here. I'm not going to be upset anymore. December 5th, new day.
I will wait until spring training.
Yep, let's do that. We're going to take a quick time out. We will hear from Jordan Foote coming up here in just a little bit. We're going to talk with Jordan Foote on all things Chiefs. We'll hear from Michael Swain. We'll go through headlines. I got a shortened show today due to hoops.
Bunch of hoops action.
A lot of hoops.
We'll have full coverage for you. Dan's going to be at K-State. I'll be at KU. I will concede the live tweets to you because you're going to have a better game.
Okay.
So I will
Here's hoping.
I will not tweet over you.
UMKC. You know what you need to? You need to just tweet out the funny stuff that UMKC does. No, that's too many tweets.
That's kind of mean.
That's too many tweets.
Why would you assume they're going to do funny things?
Because it's UMKC, man. I can't take a team seriously when you play in your rec center.
Well, I mean, they're just not very big.
I love their mascot. They got a great mascot. They got good uniforms.
The kangaroo
they got a kid on their roster I saw in junior college, Colby Community College, Alan Mukeba from Belgium. So I got to see him play some JUCO games.
I won't watch a single bit of that KU versus UMKC game. I don't need to.
They don't have anybody taller than 6'9". Hunter Dickinson's going to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. No,
you're not going to watch just to watch basketball?
No, I'll watch K-State.
Well, that game is going to end at halftime of the KU game.
Okay. Well, do something different. I'll color. We're coloring a lot in our household. Coming up next, Jordan Foote on All Things Chiefs.
Back on 580 Sports Talk, 3:35 on this Tuesday afternoon. Short show today. We're off a little bit early for Kansas State basketball. Dan will be in attendance, in fact, tonight as K-State takes on Villanova. But before we get to that, coming up later on this afternoon, we're talking a little Chiefs football. And to do that, we are now joined by our good pal Jordan Foote from Sports Illustrated and Arrowhead Report. You can go find him on Twitter at Foote noted. That's Foote noted. And of course, over at SI.com and their Chiefs Arrowhead Report vertical. Jordan, what's going on, man?
I'm doing good, man. I thought in the waning moments of Sunday night's game, I actually thought about you guys and figured that Monday would be a pretty good time chatting about the game. Maybe a better time for some than others, but I'm doing well, buddy.
Yeah, well, I got to rock my Matt LaFleur t-shirt, which made me feel good. I've been waiting all year to bust that one out because he was kind of pissing me off earlier in the season. But we're all good now, and definitely a happier day for me than for some folks. Let's get to that game right off the rip, Jordan. And when you look back on it, it's not like it was a terrible game for the Chiefs or anything. It's a one-score game on the road in the conditions, tough place to play against a team that's surging. All of those things are totally fair. What would you point to as the number one reason why the Chiefs couldn't get it done against Green Bay?
It's kind of the same thing that it's been all year. The Chiefs lost the turnover battle. They didn't execute on offense, and you can go through their drives. First of all, they just didn't have a ton of possessions to begin with. This wasn't a game where each team had the ball 10, 11 times. The Chiefs had a sack and another sack and their first drive that had a field goal. They had a holding penalty and then a sack and their second drive, another field goal. They kneeled down to close out the half. Then they finally got going, had a couple touchdowns. Then coming out of that, they had the MVS misread where, for whatever reason, he ran towards the safety instead of away from the safety and didn't adjust his route accordingly. They had the Sky Moore pass that got picked, and then Isaiah Pacheco got ejected. You can point to a singular play or a couple plays on every single drive where the Chiefs are either stalling out in the red zone because the defense doesn't respect them. They're not detail-oriented. The offensive line is struggling. It's little, small losses everywhere. The offensive tackle play not being great. The wide receivers not being very good. Dropped passes. Maybe Mahomes makes a mistake every once in a while. Poor play calling. It's a different thing, it seems, every single time. But because that list is so long, the Chiefs constantly run into these problems, and that's kind of what happened on Sunday.
We've talked with you a number of times this season about the wide receivers and the issues there and the lack of depth and all of that. But at this point of the season, what do you do with Valdez-Scantling and Moore? Because, I mean, we're at a point where they're not even really playable, Jordan. I mean, we know how bad Sky Moore has been this year. He was at least partially at fault for the interception by Keyshawn Nixon in the fourth quarter, and he has just been a major disappointment, to say the least. And MVS is a deep ball catcher who can't catch the ball or even track the ball, as you just laid out with that mistake on Sunday night. I mean, what do you do with these guys? Because you need receivers out there, but these guys are effectively a net negative every time they see the field.
Yeah, it's a tough one. When you look at the Chiefs' snap count totals this year, those are the top two guys. It's Quez Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore at the wide receiver position. Then you have a drop-off, and it's the group that actually kind of does something in Rashee Rice and Justin Watson. The biggest thing, and something that is a working theory of a lot of people, it's not completely an original thought, is the Chiefs really did think that Kadarius Toney was going to be a bigger time player than he has been this year. And part of it is the injury, but at a certain point, Andy Reid's been pushing this. Well, the knee's not 100%. He's still working his way back a little bit. They want to kind of have the load management with him. Then he gets a hip injury. He's had a little bit of an ankle problem this year. Like, he's always banged up. The team doesn't want to play him for 30 or 40 snaps, but he's one of their most dynamic weapons who has also regressed. McCole Hardman was in there. That kind of spelled doom for him. They can't find spots for him on the field, and they have Richie James out there. They have McCole Hardman now on the IR. Like, there's no reason to not stick with a few guys, get them out on the field. And I get that there are, 11 million reasons or however much MVS is making to keep him on the field, give Justin Watson some of those reps. Sky Moore, the experiment, is not working. And I thought against the Raiders, they kind of established or found something where you get him in space, you get him little gadget type stuff. That sideline fade route, that's not Sky Moore. That never was Sky Moore. It wasn't him in college. It hasn't been him in the pros. They're not using the guys right. They're not using them in the correct situations. And it's easy for us, of course, to kind of sit here and say that, but there's a reason these teams, and I think the announcers brought it up on Sunday, Green Bay's found a rotation and they're sticking with it. The Chiefs have not found that. And it's almost too late for them to get that going because we're in early December here and they're still kind of figuring that out.
On the defensive side of the ball, I think most people have come to something of a consensus that this was the worst game for the Chiefs defense this year. And again, it wasn't an awful game by any means, but took on a quarterback in Jordan Love, who has been red hot recently, a Packers team that, like you just pointed out, has started to figure out their process a little bit better. Any lingering concerns about the defense, or was this just, hey, that's the NFL sometimes?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the latter. Now, the Chiefs' run defense has consistently been bad all year. They're 31st in rush EPA allowed, and that's kind of been the opposite of their MO this year. I guess their identity's been, hey, we're going to be fantastic against the pass. We're going to concede some against the run because teams won't commit to it. The Broncos didn't have a ton of success per rush, but they kept drives moving. They kept the Chiefs' offense off the field. They minimized the amount of drives they have. They averaged 5.2 yards per carry. The defensive line was getting blown off the line of scrimmage. The Packers played physical. They also played heavy, it seems, in terms of personnel early on in the game, kind of forced the Chiefs to limit some of their specialty nickel and dime packages they were going into. But that's also without mentioning Drew Tranquill wasn't in that game for the most part. He got knocked out, and you're going from Drew Tranquill that's a backup to Nick Bolton, but probably almost as good, if not even a little bit better of a player in caliber, to Jack Cochran, who, no offense to him, just not that guy. And he's wearing the green dot. He's getting the defense lined up. It's a lot to take in on the road on Sunday night in the elements against a team that you can point out the record and say, yes, they're 6-6. Like you mentioned earlier, they're playing a lot better. So all of that is a long path to a short road where it kind of is the NFL, but also the Chiefs' weaknesses just got exploited a little bit.
We're speaking with Jordan Foote of Arrowhead Report. He joins us here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. You can check Jordan out on Twitter at @FooteNoted. Jordan, as we look for positives, and like they're not that hard to find. I mean, the Chiefs are 8-4. They're 2 games up in the division. The sky is not falling, but it has not been what we anticipated, I think, to this point, certainly not on the offensive side of the ball. But that being said, do you think this running game right now, what they have found in the running game, is sustainable and maybe the best run threat they've had in the Mahomes era right now with the way the Pacheco and the interior offensive line is playing?
Yeah, I think so. And really, even the tackle position, Jawan Taylor has been a little bit iffy at times this season, and Donovan Smith has not always been the best, but even Wanya Morris was in there. They were doing absolute damage in the run game. Isaiah Pacheco has better patience and better vision than he has last year. They have the ever so occasional off-speed pitch of Kadarius Toney or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Jerick McKinnon once he gets back. They've got guys that can have the orbit motion as an extension of the run game. They had the screen game against the Raiders that was an extension of the run game. And then they also had old-fashioned, hey, we're going to get rid of this inside zone, outside zone stuff. We're just going to run this gap power scheme run game. They were getting gritty and getting down to the nitty-gritty on Sunday, and it was working well. Pacheco averaged 6 yards per carry in that game. The problem, and this is always a worry with an Andy Reid-led team, they ran the ball twice in the fourth quarter, and one of those was a scramble attempt by Patrick Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco, yes, he was banged up, but he had 1 carry for 2 yards. So there's always the element of you want Andy Reid to not take the ball out of Mahomes' hands too much because he's the best player in the sport, but you also do want to protect him just a little bit because sometimes he gets out over his skis. He has to do a little bit too much. You want to commit to that run game. So, yes, they have discovered something, I believe, but they also have to stay committed to it over the course of a full 60 minutes.
We have seen this year, and the numbers back it up, that Travis Kelce's snap load has been managed more this season, and that is a continuation of a trend. He hasn't been a 95% of a snaps guy since 2018, but he's down below 80% of the snaps this year. And as much as the Chiefs receiver core has struggled, and as now these games down the stretch all become must-win if the Chiefs want to make sure that they earn that number 1 seed in the AFC, do you think we simply see more volume of snaps for Travis Kelce to make sure that he is on the field and his threat is ever present every time the Chiefs pass the ball?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder. And you go back to that Denver game, he played 85% of the snaps, then had 77. Against Philly, it was 84, then another 77. And on Sunday, it was 88. And you can watch Travis Kelce play, and the numbers are still good. Don't get me wrong. And he's still an elite tight end and probably the best in the league. But you can watch how he moves and watch how he reacts after plays, after he hits the frozen tundra at Lambeau Field, after he gets hit by a couple guys, after they're roughing him up near the line of scrimmage. He's so banged up. And he's also 34. He's in his 11th season. Like, the Chiefs, they're sleeping in the bed they made. They have to rely on the all-world tight end to get open and be the security blanket. Kelce's taken just half a step back, and really that's all defense is needed to say, okay, we're going to double or triple team him and dare somebody else to beat you. So, yes, I do think that he's going to continue to play big snaps in big games. And earlier in the year when he was playing 65%, 70%, that's going to help him out. But the flip side of that is he's not going to get healthier, I don't think. It's really a load management. Let's keep you at 85, 90% as best we can, rather than get you back to 100. So it's a slippery slope, and I think that he's still tremendous, but the Chiefs are definitely kind of playing with fire a little bit there.
The Chiefs defense, we know, objectively good in every measure. They've been really good, particularly against the pass this year. They're a good blitzing team. They're well coached by Steve Spagnuolo. They have some really high-level players. They forced 14 turnovers in 12 weeks. And as much as turnovers have been a problem for the Chiefs offense, it becomes a little more imperative on the defense at this point to force some more turnovers. What is the path for this defense to do that and to make more turnover plays and get that number back to a more even or Chiefs favored number in these games down the stretch and into the postseason?
Yeah, I think really it stems from how the Chiefs coach their defensive backs. And when you have a guy like Trent McDuffie out there, that's really his only flaw, is playing the football and trying to get interceptions. He can force a fumble. Mike Edwards is good at making plays. Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton, all those guys. It seems like when they force fumbles, they are fundamentally sound, good plays. And when they get interceptions, you're almost surprised. Like, the numbers back it up. And also, it's a crazy play where you're like, oh, man, that was a really awesome play that wasn't necessarily how they drew it up. The Chiefs play that heavy press man coverage. They play, you're going to get down there and just wipe out the probability of a catch, and that's fantastic, and they're good at doing that. The problem is they haven't always been the best at playing the football, attacking the football. They kind of focus on their receiver and eliminating the chance of a 50-50 ball, or no one's going to catch this if I'm not going to catch this, and that's fine. But with how volatile NFL defense is, you're always bound to potentially succumb to a really good opponent or have a divisional round game like when Josh Allen just could not be stopped. That's a worry, especially because the Chiefs offense hasn't really shown the gear where they can overcome that. So part of it's a coaching thing. Part of it is just a little bit of luck, and maybe that does regress. But I really do think this is just kind of how the Chiefs are, in that they're going to force some fumbles. They'll get some tip-drill interceptions. But in terms of, hey, it's my corner against your receiver and they're going to go get the ball, that just hasn't really been how they played.
Finishing things up with Jordan Foote. He covers the Kansas City Chiefs as the deputy editor for Arrowhead Report over at Sports Illustrated. You can also find Jordan on Twitter, where his handle is @FooteNoted. Jordan, the number one seed in the AFC, still certainly in doubt at this point, and there's really four teams that are vying for it, although the injuries to the Jaguars, specifically Trevor Lawrence on Monday night, that significantly hampers their chances of getting that top seed. So you've got the Ravens and Dolphins ahead of the Chiefs right now. Neither of those two teams has an especially easy schedule. They play each other, in fact, in Week 17. Dolphins still have the Cowboys and the Bills on that schedule. The Ravens also have, the Jaguars. They've got a matchup with the Niners, with the Steelers. So to me, it seems as though that number one seed is still a possibility, a potential possibility for the Chiefs. What would you say the likelihood is right now, a game back with 5 to go, of the Chiefs getting that number one seed?
Yeah, so I think the numbers, if I saw correctly, it was somewhere around 20%. I would give it maybe a third. Like, I don't think the Chiefs are out of it by any means. They have, obviously, the head-to-head tiebreaker over Jacksonville, whose quarterback might miss a little bit of time. They have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Miami, who I still don't trust against really good teams. And then Baltimore, I love Lamar Jackson. I love what the Ravens have going, but you can't really trust them against good teams yet either. So that leaves really the Chiefs as the team that can jump up above. Now, the Chiefs do have to beat Buffalo, but later in the season, their games aren't too daunting either. So this is a team that, while you look at them and I think they're in the mix, you can also look at their record and say, okay, the week 1 game was insane. They lost by 1. Denver, obviously a bad loss. Philly, they were right there. And Green Bay, they had a legit chance, even with some things going against them. So it's not all doom and gloom, as Dan said earlier, for the Chiefs. I think that they're still going to generally be okay, but it's going to happen differently than it used to. The probability of them winning a Super Bowl is not as high as it once was. They don't have much of a margin for error. All that to say, I don't really trust any of these AFC teams right now as far as I can throw them, but I'd give the Chiefs a nice even third of the chance at still getting that 1 seed.
Are they going to knock off the Bills this weekend?
That's a tough one, man. I think this is going to be one of those situations where Chiefs Twitter melts down and it gets worse before it gets better. I think that they lose a close one to Buffalo, but then they win out. That obviously makes it tougher to get that 1 seed, but the Bills are playing their Super Bowl. It's not an indictment on the Chiefs. It's just kind of Buffalo doesn't really have another choice right now.
I'm just telling you, I hope they win at least 4 of their next 5 because my Chiefs over 11.5 win total future depends on it. So I'm hoping that you're right about that, Jordan, 100%. Jordan Foote covers the Kansas City Chiefs. He is the deputy editor for Arrowhead Report over at SI.com. Go check out his work there. Follow him on Twitter as well, at FooteNoted. That's FOOTE noted. Jordan, we appreciate the time. Thanks for hanging out with us, and enjoy the rest of this regular season, including the big one against Buffalo.
Yep, thanks a lot, buddy.
So that's Jordan Foote from Sports Illustrated joining us here on 580 Sports Talk to talk all things Kansas City Chiefs. Let's take a quick timeout. We'll come back after the news and get to our final hour of a shortened show today. We'll lead things off with our headlines right here on 580 Sports Talk.
Hour number 3, 580 Sports Talk, coming to you on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the final hour of 580 Sports Talk today on this Tuesday. And the reason why is we've got K-State.
I knew that was coming.
Taking on Villanova in the Big 12 Big East Challenge tonight here on the 580 airwaves, FM 104.9 as well. 5 o'clock pregame coverage, 6 o'clock with the tip-off from the K-State Radio Network tonight. So Dan Lucero is headed there today. So if you want to follow our Twitter page at 580 Sports Talk for info, news, notes, sarcasm, stats, pictures, videos, you can 580 Sports Talk. You can let us know your thoughts on our text line as well, 580 Sports Talk. Very easy to get to, 785-272-9429. You can go to our YouTube page, easy as well. You go to youtube.com. If you don't know where YouTube is, ask your kids. They will know. You search in 580 Sports Talk. You can check out some videos as well as all of our podcast shows. Very easy, very simple. And if you want to interact with us on the stream, that's easy to do as well. So we got What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain will stop by. Talk a little Jayhawks. Jayhawks are in action. They play tonight, but they don't really play tonight.
Man, you're just ripping on UMKC today.
Yeah, but it's the truth.
It's a tune-up game. It's a little weird. KU's had more of these nobody games this year than usual. Because usually, KU still plays plenty of not very good teams, but it's like a good Summit League team or like a team that might win the Ohio Valley or whatever, not UMKC in Eastern Illinois. Fun fact, 1 week ago tonight when KU beat Eastern Illinois by 8, it was the first time that Bill Self had not beaten a team in the KenPom 300s by more than 10 points. Closest game ever against a team ranked that low, according again to the KenPom Roy numbers.
Washburn beat Avila worse than UMKC did.
That's pretty funny.
By a substantial margin, actually, by 20 points.
Well, I was going to say Washburn won by 48.
Yeah. UMKC won 79-48. Also, UMKC lost to Lincoln last year.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It isn't great. I'm trying to think of who told me this story, but a story about one time being at a UMKC practice when they hadn't paid their bills and the lights got shut off.
That does not surprise me at all.
That is a program that does not need to be Division I.
No.
Feel bad for them saying that because I know it's a big deal to have that, but I don't know. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean,
the smartest move for them was to move into the Summit League, even though they get destroyed in the Summit League.
Yeah.
But at least travel-wise is better than the WAC.
Oh, well, yeah. But, I mean, there's a number of these teams. Chicago State just, it was reported today from Matt Brown that they're going to join the Northeastern Conference, the NEC, which is probably the worst basketball conference in the country. But it's a conference. They're currently the only basketball independent in the nation. But like that school should not be Division I either. No. Honestly, if you're UMKC, they probably wouldn't be very good in the MIAA, but that's probably a better fit than being a Division I school. Like, what are they gaining from getting their ass kicked by KU tonight, other than a paycheck?
That's it.
You could get a D2 buy game as a D2 school.
Yeah.
There's not really a benefit for it.
But let's get to our headlines since we don't have a 5 o'clock hour today. Let's get to some headlines. I will start with this. It's the one thing that the NFL also does well, but they do a good job of promoting and trying to make it well known that this is it's the second best award you can get, I think, in the NFL, and that's the Walter Payton Award.
The NFL bills it up as what, the highest honor in the NFL, I think is what they call it.
The number one is the MVP.
Duh.
But the Walter Payton Award does a lot, and I think and they really pump it up.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chiefs nominee is Patrick Mahomes. I think he'll be the nominee every year until he gets it. You ready for this? I think Patrick Mahomes will be the NFL's Man of the Year at some point in time in his career. He's going to get the Man of the Year cumulative award for as much as he does with the 15 and the Mahomes and all that kind of thing. So at some point in time, if I could wager that Patrick Mahomes will win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award at some point in time in his career, he will. Because the NFL will be like, you're done so good for so long, we'll just give it to you.
I would push back on that because well, he's not this year, but like Aaron Jones has been the Packers nominee, I think 6 years in a row.
Is he not this year?
No, he's actually not.
Well, the reason I say that is because he's Patrick Mahomes.
Well, yeah.
His name.
It means something to have to go to that guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's why I think he will win it at some point in time.
Yeah, he's on there. Other notable names that are on the list: Roquan Smith for the Ravens. Let's see here: Devondre Campbell of the Packers, that's their nominee. Max Crosby for the Raiders. Derwin James for the Chargers. Cooper Kupp is the Rams nominee. Former Chief Tyrann Mathieu for the New Orleans Saints, not a surprise. Saquon with the Giants. Solomon Thomas with the Jets. He's done a lot of work for suicide prevention and mental health awareness. His sister tragically died via suicide. Bobby Wagner of the Seahawks. Antoine Winfield Jr. for the Bucks. Some names you know. Terry McLaurin, not so scary Terry for the Commanders.
He's not so scary. Well,
I mean, like, he's doing good work. Like, he's not scary off the field. On the field, he is. They just don't throw him the ball.
Which is wild because Sam Howell has a ton of passing yards.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Hey, Terry.
If they
you up? What's up?
If they hadn't given him that big fat contract, I think he'd be a great candidate for the Chiefs to go make a move. His contract, he's signed for the next few years, if I'm not mistaken.
Just what's his cap hit?
His cap hit next year is $24 million.
No, that's too much.
And his dead cap is even bigger than that.
Yeah.
And then it's $23 million the year after. And then he's got a void year in 26. So he ain't going anywhere.
You just need to draft another wide receiver like Rashee Rice. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I would draft two, honestly. Speaking of the NFL, my first headline for today, we got a lot of quarterback news today around the league. Not a lot of like good quarterbacks necessarily. Here's the big one from last night. You were in bed by the time this happened, but Trevor Lawrence suffered a high ankle sprain last night in the Jaguars' home loss on Monday Night Football to the Cincinnati Bengals. His left tackle stepped on his ankle. Lawrence then crumpled up, and as he went to the ground, his tackle and Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson fell on top of Trevor Lawrence. It looked hideous, but thankfully it is just a high ankle sprain, and I mean, that still sounds pretty bad. Doug Peterson wouldn't even rule him out for next Sunday, although I'm pretty sure he's not going to play on Sunday. Also an injury for the Jaguars last night, Christian Kirk. He suffered a core muscle injury on the first snap of the game for the Jaguars offense. That is generally what is a hernia now. It's not always a hernia, but that's generally what that is called these days. So he is going to miss some time for Jacksonville. So that is a tough one. From a bad team, some quarterback news today. In fact, a couple of bad teams with quarterback news. Your new full-time starter for the New York Giants, Tommy DeVito. Tyrod Taylor is healthy. He is able to return this week. He is not going to get the starting job. He was asked about it in the Giants locker room today. He was not thrilled about it. Said he broke 4 ribs in the game he got injured in against the Jets earlier this year. Tommy DeVito is, though, going to be the starting quarterback going forward for the Giants. Brian Dable said, quote, "I just thought Tommy earned it. Went back, watched all the tape, thought he played 2 good games. Obviously, there are things we can all work on. Thought he earned the right to play." So that is significant-ish, I guess. The Giants play the Packers coming up on Monday night next week. Also from the city that never sleeps, New York, the Jets, they have released quarterback Tim Boyle, who has started the last 2 weeks. They are signing Brett Rippon off of the Seahawks practice squad. Brett Rippon already has a start this season for the Los Angeles Rams. I watched every snap of that game.
Why?
The Packers won.
They played the Packers. Okay.
Yeah, Brett Rippon had to start.
I know you're hey, it's football. I only have 6 months to watch football, so that's why I watch football. Now you need help.
Even I wouldn't have watched a Brett Rippon start if they hadn't been against the Packers.
Thank you, Brendan. Hey, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'll watch pretty much anything, but even that, I'd say, nah, I'm good on that one. So that is who the Jets have signed. Don't know if it's going to end up being him who starts or Trevor Siemian or Zach Wilson for the Jets. That is about as sad as it gets. One other note for you from the NFL today. This is from Josina Anderson, national NFL insider for CBS Sports. She put on Twitter earlier today, I'm told that the Chicago Bears are expected to have interest in Commanders assistant head coach / offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, among others, with general knowledge that current coach Matt Eberflus is under evaluation with the team at 4-8. Matt Eberflus is getting fired. Just say it.
You know why? The connection.
With the Ryan Poles.
Yeah,
Ryan Poles.
Ryan Poles, former player personnel guy for the Chiefs. Is this his first year as the GM for the Bears, or is this his second?
It's his second or third at this point. I mistyped his name. Ryan Poles has been the general manager of the Chicago. Okay, second year.
Okay, yeah.
2022. He had been with the Chiefs 2009 through 2021, working his way up from scouting assistant all the way to director of player personnel.
Yeah. So this is his second chance. Well, it's the Bears, so they're not a real ownership group. Like, if this were a real ownership group, then this would be Poles' last hire as a head coach or as a GM. You get two, and if you stink on both of them,
you usually don't get a third.
You usually don't get a third. However, the McClaskey's not a real ownership group.
No, they're not.
So he might, but there's your connection.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Commanders are very good. It's not all the offense's fault. It's not all EB's fault. That roster just isn't very good, and Rivera's going to get fired. That would be an interesting one. Makes it even a stronger likelihood that that's where Chris Jones ends up. I will say that. That's like the new Patriot way. Let's just hire all sorts of former Chiefs coaches and players and bring them to Chicago. That would be very, very funny. But that is your update, your news from around the NFL today.
A little news here. We'll stay again when it comes to Major League Baseball that JJ Picollo said that the Royals have at least $30 million to sign free agents this offseason. There is a connection with Lucas Giolito and the Kansas City Royals, but I want to say this right now. Nothing's going to happen until Shohei Ohtani signs. He's going to be the one that is the big deal there. I'm going to tell you this. He's going to end up with the Dodgers. And if he does end up with the Dodgers, it will be hilarious when they spend that amount of money and still won't win a World Series that is actually legit.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing. I don't think, for me personally, I would be comfortable clowning the Dodgers because we cover a team that, like, doesn't want to spend anything. No,
it's more so that the Dodgers' only World Series win is one to me that has a monstrous, it should be bold, italicized with an asterisk. That's just my opinion.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I get it.
But and they're so good and have been so good now for a decade.
Yeah.
That their only World Series win is a sham one.
Yeah, that's fair. I get what you're saying.
That's all. Do the Cubs have a chance?
It sounds today like no.
Yeah, it was previous.
Yeah, there were a couple of reports today that they are not as likely to get Ohtani. I mean, I would like to have him, but there's a lot of good players out there. I'm not giving up hope for this offseason quite yet. It's too early for me to give up hope on the offseason.
Yeah, so there's no baseball news until Ohtani signs, and then everybody else will trickle down. So
the other player who has had his name come up a lot recently, who's probably the biggest pitcher on the trade market, Tyler Glasnow with the Tampa Bay Rays. I know the Cubs are deep in negotiations to get a deal done there. A few other teams are too. Where do you think Ohtani's going? Where do you think he's going to end up?
I'll go
Dodgers?
Yeah, they got so much money.
I think Toronto is an interesting wild card team. I don't think they'll land him, but I do think it's kind of interesting that they've been in the mix the entire time. Next headline for me, some college coaching news today. New Mexico, not necessarily a powerhouse these last couple of years. They are reportedly, though, getting close to signing Bronco Mendenhall, the former BYU and Virginia head coach, as their next head coach. He went to 11 straight bowl games while he was the head coach at BYU, and he took Virginia to the Orange Bowl in 2019. Now, that's one that I think Mendenhall's a really good coach. I think he really rubs people the wrong way. He also definitely has a reputation for having dirty programs, which is not necessarily a good thing. He hasn't coached since 2021. He left Virginia, and here was his reasoning why. He wanted to reassess, renew, reframe, and reinvent. Sure. Well, let's go with that. Now, as it's written by Pete Thamel of ESPN, he'd be taking on one of the biggest challenges in college football, as New Mexico hasn't won more than 4 games since 2016. And KU says, wow, first time? No, I'm just kidding. But that's an interesting hire. I think Mendenhall's a good coach. I really do. So if New Mexico is able to land him, I think that would be very positive for that program. We'll see about that. We will definitely see. One other note from Major League Baseball that I want to get to, not that this is really a surprise to anyone at all, but Mike Trout not being traded by the Angels, that had come out, leaked. I don't even know if you can call it a leak, a little bit earlier on this offseason that, maybe Mike Trout is going to be sick of the Angels and their nonsense, and maybe he's wanting to go somewhere else and try to win a ring. Well, Perry Minasian, the general manager of the Angels, said today, Mike Trout's not getting traded. He was asked 100%, like there's no chance at all. And he said, yeah, 100%. As written here by Alvin Gonzalez of ESPN, a Trout trade was always considered unlikely as he has a full no trade clause and is owed $250 million over the next 7 years. I think Mike Trout is a first ballot surefire Hall of Famer, and anyone who doesn't vote for him on the first ballot honestly should never be allowed to vote for the Hall of Fame again. I got problems with the Baseball Hall of Fame for myriad reasons, most of which is the pettiness, why people won't vote for certain others. Like Mariano Rivera obviously deserved to get in on the first ballot. Why is he the only guy who's ever been unanimous? That doesn't make a lick of sense. So, like, Greg Maddux couldn't be unanimous. Ken Griffey Jr. couldn't be unanimous. It's just completely ridiculous. And I think Mike Trout should be a unanimous Hall of Fame pick the day he eventually retires. They should just put him in right away. Why even bother making him wait for 5 years? But he's been injured a lot in the last several years, and it crushes me because I've been a big Mike Trout guy for a long, long time. That makes me sad that he's missed so much time. He certainly doesn't have the same kind of trade value now. And additionally, he is going to be paid until he is 39 years old by the Angels. And he's been banged up in his late 20s, early 30s. Who knows what that's going to look like when he gets to his mid to late 30s as well. But no change for one of the best players of a generation in Major League Baseball. Mike Trout is going to stay with the Angels. A couple things I want to get to real quick before we get to a commercial and get to what is wrong with you. We have a text in from the 785 that says, hopefully Nagy didn't spoil Eric Bieniemy's chances of getting a head coaching job with the Bears or elsewhere, I assume. I would guess no, especially since Bieniemy has now spent a year elsewhere. And I think most people have given more credit to Bieniemy for the Chiefs' success than was ever given to Matt Nagy. I mean, he did win 2 Super Bowls. Nagy did not win any. So I would say probably not, but I do think there are certainly going to be some Bears fans, if Bieniemy does become a true candidate, that say, we really want another Chiefs former offensive coordinator. We really want another guy from the Andy Reid tree. Also, this from Vance on YouTube asking if there's any updates on Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, who, of course, missed the Chiefs game this past week against the Packers. No word as of yet, as far as we are aware. Still recovering, all good to go. But we'll hear from Mitch coming up Thursday afternoon at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, and we'll get an update on what this past crazy weekend was like for Mitch Holthus. That does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's get to a break. We'll come on back. We've got today's What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, as he does every single Tuesday at this time, is Michael Swain for Jayhawk Weekly. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks and does so better than anyone else out there for Fog.net, which is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Head over to Fog.net for all of Michael's coverage of KU, and you can go find him on Twitter, too, where his handle is at mswain247. Michael, I left you alone with Dan last week, so this week I ended up telling him to get out of here, so it's just you and me to even it out.
That's all right. I liked it better last week, actually.
Hey, look, I don't blame you. I'll be honest. I don't think anyone will blame you for feeling that way. We'll get to some KU basketball coming up in just a moment. Hawks are in action tonight against UMKC. Let's start on the football side, though. Guaranteed rate bowl for the Jayhawks. Does that feel like a fair, bold choice? I don't know what word to use for it. I know some fans were, and I initially thought this too, like, damn, wish KU had gotten a better game. But frankly, you look at the pecking order, I really not surprised in the long run that this is where KU ended up. Still sounds like a great opportunity, a real chance to get that 9th win. How do you feel about that bowl selection?
Yeah, bowls are hard, right? Because I feel like you can look at it from so many different angles. I think on one hand, you could take it from a team perspective, right? KU gets to go somewhere warm, right? There's going to be running water, unlike last year, and the players are going to have a really good time, right? Phoenix is really cool, and they're going to be there for a few days. I think some guys might fly out on like the 22nd is when one of the first planes might leave. I'm not totally sure on that, but they're going to get some time to be in the warm, and there's some fun hikes you can do in Phoenix, and there's a lot of activities you can do. So from a player perspective, like, this is a cool destination. You know, Phoenix is one of the biggest cities in the country. There's cool things you can do. So players are going to enjoy their time, right? And the coaches are going to enjoy being in a warm area. Now, I think you can look at the day of the game and look at from a fan perspective and say, man, you know, this isn't really conducive to having a huge crowd of KU fans there like maybe there would have been at other bowl games that are at other times post-Christmas. So And plus, it's expensive, right? I think that's kind of the big thing too here, where you're looking at whether it be Phoenix or if it was Orlando. Like, flying from Kansas City to a warm place this time of year is going to be pretty expensive. And so from a fan perspective, it's not necessarily the easiest one or maybe the cheapest one, but I think you put it all together, right? And KU's playing in a bowl game where they're going to get treated really well, right? The Guaranteed Rate Bowl is basically the Fiesta Bowl people that are just working this bowl and getting prepared for the Fiesta Bowl, which is obviously bigger, but they get similar treatment. So that's really cool. But again, I think fan perspective, I can understand why fans are frustrated. And look, UNLV is not necessarily a super sexy program. So I think you can look at the matchup too and say, man, if it was a Nebraska, a Wisconsin, a Minnesota, even if those teams aren't great, the brand matchup is probably a little bit better. So I think, you can always look at these things in so many different ways. And I think it's all very dependent on how you want to look at it.
The only thing I will say about the destination itself, with prior experience that we don't have enough time to get to, keep the players out of Scottsdale the night before the game. So all I'm going to say, Don't go to Old Town Scottsdale beforehand. It's going to be better off for everybody. Wait till after the game on the 26th. As for the opponent, UNLV, they had a great year. Didn't have their best couple of games at the end of the regular season and in the Mountain West Championship game. That was a really good year for Barry Odom's group, kind of out of nowhere, because that program has, for lack of a better phrase, been kind of lost in the desert and wandering for the last several years. What do you make of this matchup? And what do you make of KU's chances against the Runnin' Rebs?
Yeah, so, it should be a high-scoring game, right? You look at UNLV averaging over 30 points a game. I know there was a erroneous report yesterday about the quarterback opting out, but I don't think that is true. I guess technically entering the portal, but that is not true.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations where you look at the on-field matchup, right, and it should be pretty fun. UNLV's got a pretty big wide receiver that should be a fun matchup for Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson, right? I think over 1,000 yards receiving this year. The quarterback's a dual-threat guy who put up big numbers. So, this is a game I've not seen what the early over-under is. I've seen the spread somewhere kind of around the double-digit mark. But, this is a game that I think overall it should be really exciting for KU fans to watch. And obviously, I'm not sure what the quarterback situation is going to end up looking like, but this is the type of game that I think you look back on and it may not be a sexy opponent, but man, there's a big opportunity for this to be a really, really exciting game and for KU to kind of showcase its brand of football.
If I gave you 64.5 for the total, you taking the over or the under?
Probably take the over, honestly. I think bowl games are time to get fun and they're time to really let it fly. So I have no reason to believe why both teams can't score in the mid-30s.
We're chatting with Michael Swain from Fog.net. It's Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. We chat with Michael at this time every single Tuesday. Go check out all of his work covering KU at Fog.net. One last football question for you, Michael, and I know you wrote a little bit about this over at Fog.net over the past week. Andy Kotelnicki, he's on to Penn State. I've made my piece on the show that, hey, it's the business. Penn State's a great program. They offered him a ton of money. I know KU was fighting till the end to keep him. It is what it is. Jim Zebrowski, co-OC, don't know exactly what that coaching staff on the offensive side will look like. What are you hearing about how KU is going to fill that 10th on-field coach spot? Do you think it'll be a promotion of an analyst? Do you think it'll be an outside hire, maybe someone who knows Leipold or knows KU? What are you thinking that might look like?
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be an outside hire. I think KU is going to look at the best candidate possible. And so, and look, I think in terms of internal hires, if you want to go that route, I think Matt Lubick would be a great hire. But look, he is recovering and fighting leukemia. And I don't know if he is going to want to go and be an on-the-field coach in maybe a co-offensive coordinator role and have everything that goes with that. So put that aside. I think KU will end up looking elsewhere and trying to get the best candidate. Look, KU's in a spot now where it's going to get $700,000 from Penn State. And Andy Kotelnicki was set to make $1.1 million next year. Now, the promotion for Zebrowski and for Jordan Peterson is going to result in a raise. And I think it'd be fair to expect raises for other people on staff as well. So the salary number is going to go up, but not necessarily to fill all $1.1 million. So KU's going to have some financial power to work with here. And I think they can go and look for the best candidate possible. And I think really the big thing you got to look at here is the position that they will coach. I think it's going to end up being tight ends. You look at Scott Fuchs under contract. Terrence Samuel has been the wide receivers coach. Jonathan Wallace, the running backs coach. KU has coaching continuity here and guys that have applied for multiple years. So it does seem like tight ends coach is going to be the position coach. And so then from there, you kind of look at, okay, will this be someone that comes in and is a co-OC with Zabrowski, or does Zabrowski get elevated to being the plain old OC without any sort of co there? And so there's some dynamics here that are going to play out, and I can't tell you how it's going to work out because I think they're still in the somewhat early stages of this, and I don't necessarily expect to be named this week or maybe even before signing day. I think it's something that KU can take their time, find the right hire and the right person, and go on from there and move on.
Let's flip over to the hardwood. Again, KU in action tonight. Don't really have a whole lot we have to preview against UMKC, but Friday night, one of the most anticipated games of the college basketball season, certainly in the non-conference slate. KU beats UConn 69-65. Not a ton of points, but man, that was a blast of a game. What was your biggest takeaway from that performance from KU in the win over UConn?
Man, this team is tough. I think that's been pretty clear over, maybe not even against UConn totally, but just over the first kind of month of the season, right? This team's got some guts. And even players like Johnny Furphy, right? The three he made in the corner after missing his previous attempt shows some mental resiliency and some self-belief. And so you look at guys up and down the roster, right? Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, Kevin McCullough, DeJuan Harris. Those guys are tough. And you've seen KU now overcome deficits, rally, and be a really tough team. I think that's really encouraging because the Big 12 is a tough conference, and you have to have some mental resiliency to have success in it, because there are going to be nights where KU's not going to play well, and it's going to take having a very tough and gritty performance to win a basketball game. So that's really encouraging. And I think for me, right, the level of Kevin McCullough's playing at is at a level maybe I did not expect to start the season. I thought he'd have a similar jump to that Ochai had or that Jalen Wilson had, but for him to now be included in some first round mock drafts, and I've heard from behind the scenes, that's legit. It's not for clicks or anything like that. Kevin McCullough is viewed as a potential first round pick right now. And so he's played at such a high level. And I think you saw him make some really big threes against UConn that I just don't feel like over the course of last season he would have made.
The depth for KU has been a question going into this year. It'll be a question throughout the season. We know that. And we also know you don't need a deep bench to win a national championship. When KU won it in 2022, that was pretty much a 7-man rotation, and Mitch Lightfoot as the 7th man was just to give David McCormick a breather for 5 minutes a game, right? He wasn't even playing a gigantic role at that point. Hell, KU played North Carolina that was running a true 6-man rotation in the national championship game. So we know you don't need that when you get to tournament time, but do you think KU's got to find a 7th or 8th guy for now just to get through that Big 12 season? Because that season, as you and I both know, is a grind. And if you're going with just 6 deep for an entire conference slate, that's going to wear down guys before you even get to March.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think you got to look at that 2022 team. They did have a game where Jalen Coleman-Lands would come in and play 10 minutes, or they'd have, someone come off the bench and provide some minutes. And you're right. When it comes down to crunch time in March Madness, you don't need depth, but you do need depth, right, to get through conference play and not be worn down. We've seen some KU teams in recent years that have had short benches. So, for me, I kind of look at it as Nick Timberlake, right? He's got to figure it out. I think it's as simple as that. KU needs guys like DeJuan Harris, Kevin McCullough, playing less than 38 minutes a night, because that's not going to work over the course of conference play. Kevin McCullough has consistently had nagging injuries during his college career, and I have nothing to believe that, one of those isn't going to pop up at some point during the season. DeJuan Harris is a slighter point guard, right? Not smaller, but just slight, and so he needs some time off too. So it comes down to Nick Timberlake. Can you go in there and not screw up? Because it's been pretty simple right now. He goes in the game, and I think, Bill Self said it yesterday, he had 3 mistakes in 2 minutes. That can't happen. And those are mental mistakes, right? It's not like he's going in there and missing a couple shots. It's not blocking out, not doing your scouting assignment. Those are the things he has to be able to do to stay on the floor. And so he's one guy that I think really has this domino effect, because if all of a sudden Timberlake goes from playing, 2 minutes or 8 minutes to playing 15 to 20, that's a lot of minutes you can take off of a DeJuan Harris, a McCullough, or even an Elmarco Jackson. So I think he really is kind of the key for KU, because at this point in time, we know Hunter Dickinson's going to be able to play a lot of minutes, and he's going to be able to hold his own in the paint. He's not gotten in foul trouble yet, and I just think what you're going to get from him. But KU needs to keep those guards fresh because guards are what help you win in March. And so I think it's going to come down to Nick Timberlake. Can he figure it out?
Last couple of questions from Michael Swain, who covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. He joins us here every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. All right, first of the two. On Saturday, KU versus Missouri, obviously rivalry game. It's going to be extra emotional with Thomas Robinson's number going up in the rafters. Is that crowd going to be better than the one for the UConn game last Friday?
Ooh, that UConn crowd was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I'd like to say yes, but look, I mean, a 4:15, it's a little different than a Friday night 8 p.m. tip. I'll say they're even. How about that?
I'll take that. I can settle for that. All right, last one. Tonight, KU, UMK. Okay, they don't go by UMKC anymore. We all know who I'm talking about. Kansas City, the Ruse. KU favored by 26.5. Are the Jayhawks going to cover that?
26.5. I'm going to say no, because this is another one of those in-between letdown game into a big game. So I think it'll be like a 21-point win or something like that, but 26 sounds a little high.
Yeah, do you take anything from that Eastern Illinois game last week? I know we didn't get to talk to you right afterwards. It went right into the UConn game. Did that mean anything, or was that just a letdown game before a huge one with UConn?
That's just a letdown game. You can't read too much into that, right? There's a lot going on, and they just come back from Maui, and I think we saw some of the other teams come back from Maui have letdown games too.
Michael Swain covers Kansas better than anybody else. You can go follow his work covering all things Jayhawks football, basketball, and more at fog.net. It's part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Make sure you're following him on Twitter as well, at mswain247 is his handle, and he joins us for Jayhawk Weekly every Tuesday afternoon. Michael, we appreciate it as always, man. We'll see you tonight at Allen Fieldhouse.
Awesome. Thanks. See you then.
That's Michael Swain from fog.net. Fantastic stuff, as always, covering KU. We've got one more break to get to. We'll come on back and wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Rapid fire final word for me today. Here's the bad. The Royals only got the 6th pick in the MLB draft lottery. Yuck. The good. I think KU wins by a ton tonight over UMKC, and I think K-State's going to pull off the quote-unquote upset and beat an overrated Villanova team as well. We'll break it all down with you tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk from 2 to 6. For Jake LeBon, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Talk to you tomorrow here on 580.